Good morning. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report. And this morning I'd like to talk about manure applications to frozen or snow-covered soil. I've summarized some of this information from a recent press release from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And land applying livestock manure in the winter requires much greater attention to the locations and, of course, the weather. And with increasing variability during the winter, probably even more so the weather. The main concern comes from no incorporation of the manure and runoff from frozen and snow-covered soil. For large livestock farms with state or federal permits, land application of liquid manure is prohibited after November 30th on frozen or snow-covered soils, unless an emergency application is approved. However, unlike last winter's early freeze-up, some current measures at the 6-inch depth show that soil temperatures are at or even above freezing. When planning to land apply either solid or liquid manure, farmers should always check soil conditions and the weather forecast. All livestock operations need to follow the Minnesota 70/20 rules regarding manure applications. And during winter land application, they must maintain a 300-foot setback from all sensitive features and use other best management practices to prevent manure from running off and preserving its nutrient value for next year's crops. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture is currently working on a manure management advisory system map, which will provide real-time weather information about runoff risk. Wisconsin has this system already in place, and I've heard that it does work pretty well. This system would give information about the weather risks associated with applying manure today or waiting a few days for less chance of a storm coming. Some common sense best management practices would include manure is applied more than 300 feet from these sensitive features, which would include lakes, streams, open tile inlets, sinkholes, water supply wells, mines, or quarries. Intermittent streams, unbermed drainage ditches, or public water wetlands. No active snow melt is occurring that can create runoff from an application field. Active snow melt is deemed to be occurring if there are 2 or more inches of snow on the field and a maximum temperature that exceeds 40 degrees are occurring or are predicted to exceed 40 degrees within 24 hours of spreading. Another practice would be no rainfall over a quarter inch is predicted by the National Weather Service with a probability greater than 50% within 24 hours after the end of the application period. The next practice would be slope should be less than or equal to 6% on the entire portion of the field where the manure will be applied. And then finally, water or ice should not occupy tillage furrows to the extent that additional snow melt or precipitation cannot be contained between the furrows or in other depressional storage areas within the field, and that would help prevent runoff. We know that runoff is going to happen, and thanks to the weather, it's one component that we can't really control. But what you definitely could control is what's in that runoff. So let's try to incorporate some of these common sense practices when we decide to apply manure this winter. To wrap up, I've got a few announcements for some upcoming meetings. The first one would be the Commercial Animal Waste Technician Recertification Workshop is Wednesday, January 27th at the Sauk Center City Hall, and it starts at 8:45. And you can call our office to register. That's 320-251-7800. And there are 2 nutrient management workshops for feedlot operators. And the first one is February 2nd at the Greenwald Pub in Greenwald. The second one is February 3rd at the Pizza Ranch in Wade Park. And they both start at 9:30 and run till 3. Call Amber Milkey at the Stearns County Environmental Services Office if you'd like to attend that. And their number is 320-656-3613. There's also, this is the time of the year when the private pesticide recertification workshops are taking place. And there are several in the central Minnesota area. In Stearns County, there's one in El Rosa on January 28th, in St. Augusta on February 5th, and in Holdingford on February 11th. And if you have any questions on any of this information, you can always call our office again, and that number is 320-251-7800, or you can always visit our website as well. Again, this has been Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your weekly conservation report. And thanks for listening.